Real estate has always been considered one of the most stable forms of investment. Unlike trends that rise and fall quickly, property tends to move in long cycles, slow, measured, predictable over time. But that does not mean all properties behave the same. In fact, within real estate itself, there are major differences in performance, risk, and long-term value. And as we move into 2026, these differences are becoming even more important. Because the real estate market is no longer shaped only by location, it is shaped by lifestyle shifts, urban migration, remote work patterns, infrastructure development, and changing population behavior. So the question is no longer just, is real estate a good investment? The real question is, what type of real estate will perform best in the current cycle? And to answer that, we need to break down the top 3 property types that are gaining attention from investors heading into 2026. Not as hype, but as patterns supported by demand behavior and long-term utility. Let's begin with the first category. 1. Mid-range residential rental properties. The first major investment category is mid-range residential rental properties. These are apartments, condominiums, and small housing units targeted toward working professionals, young families, and long-term renters. This segment continues to remain strong for one simple reason: consistent demand. Unlike luxury properties, which depend heavily on high-income buyers, or ultra-budget housing, which often has tight margins, mid-range rentals sit in the most active part of the market. They serve the largest population segment, and that alone creates stability. In 2026, this segment is being shaped by several key factors. The first is urban migration. More people continue moving into cities and growth corridors for employment opportunities. This increases rental demand in well-connected areas. The second is lifestyle preference. Younger demographics increasingly prefer renting over owning, not because they cannot buy, but because flexibility has become more valuable than long-term ownership commitment. The third factor is mobility. Remote and hybrid work have changed how people choose living spaces. They are no longer tied to one location permanently, so they prioritize convenience, access, and affordability over long-term property ownership. Now, from an investor perspective, mid-range rentals offer something very important: cash flow. Because even if property appreciation is moderate, rental income provides ongoing returns. This makes it attractive for investors who want stability rather than speculation. However, success in this category depends heavily on location selection, proximity to business districts, transportation access, schools and commercial areas, infrastructure development. These factors determine occupancy rates more than design or luxury features. Now let's talk about risk. The main risk in mid-range rentals is competition. Because this is a highly active segment, supply can sometimes increase faster than demand in certain areas, which is why location analysis becomes critical, not just current demand, but future demand trajectory. Because the strongest returns come from areas that are still developing, not already saturated. Now let's move to the second property type. 2. Pre-construction and emerging development properties. The second major investment opportunity in 2026 lies in pre-construction properties and emerging developments. This includes properties that are purchased before they are fully built, or areas that are undergoing rapid infrastructure expansion. This category is driven by one key principle: value appreciation over time. Pre-construction properties often offer lower entry prices compared to completed units, and as construction progresses, the property value typically increases. This creates potential for capital gains even before full occupancy. But the real advantage is not just price difference, it is timing. Because investors who enter early in developing areas benefit from infrastructure-driven appreciation. When new roads are built, when transport systems expand, when commercial centers develop, property values in surrounding areas tend to increase. This is a long-established real estate pattern, and in 2026, this is especially relevant due to continued urban expansion and government-led infrastructure projects in many growing regions. Now let's break down why this category is attractive. First, lower entry cost compared to completed properties. Second, higher appreciation potential if development is successful. Third, flexible payment structures in many cases. However, this category also carries higher risk because it depends heavily on execution. Not all developments are completed on time, not all infrastructure projects impact property values equally, and not all emerging areas become long-term growth zones. So due diligence is critical. Investors must evaluate developer credibility, project timeline, surrounding infrastructure plans, and actual demand indicators. Because speculation without research can lead to stagnation, but when chosen correctly, pre-construction properties can outperform traditional real estate investments significantly over time. Now let's move to the third category. 3. Mixed-use and lifestyle integrated properties. The third property type gaining strong attention in 2026 is mixed-use and lifestyle integrated developments. These are properties that combine residential, commercial, and lifestyle elements in one location. For example, buildings with retail spaces on lower floors and residential units above. Or communities designed with integrated gyms, co-working spaces, parks, and commercial centers. This category reflects a major shift in modern living behavior. People are no longer just looking for a place to live. They are looking for convenience ecosystems, everything within reach: work, food, fitness, social spaces, services. This shift is being driven largely by urban lifestyle compression. People want to reduce travel time, reduce daily friction, and increase time efficiency. Mixed-use developments address this directly. From an investment standpoint, these properties benefit from multiple income streams: residential rentals, commercial leases, shared amenities that increase property value perception, and because of this multi-layered structure, they often maintain higher occupancy stability, even during market fluctuations. Now let's talk about why this category is growing in 2026 specifically. The first reason is urban density optimization. Cities are becoming more compact. Land availability is limited, so vertical and integrated developments are becoming more common. The second reason is lifestyle demand. Modern tenants value accessibility more than space alone. They prefer convenience over separation. And the third reason is investment resilience. Because mixed-use properties are not dependent on a single income source, they tend to be more stable during market shifts. However, this category also requires careful evaluation because success depends heavily on execution quality. Poorly planned mixed-use developments can suffer from underutilized commercial spaces, or weak tenant mix, or poor traffic flow design. So investors must assess tenant demand balance, location accessibility, developer experience in mixed-use planning, and long-term sustainability of the area. Now let's step back and compare all three categories. Mid-range residential rentals offer stability and consistent cash flow. Pre-construction properties offer growth potential and capital appreciation. Mixed-use developments offer diversification and lifestyle-driven demand. Each serves a different investment goal. Now let's talk about strategy, because the biggest mistake investors make is trying to choose only one category blindly. Instead, successful investors often diversify, allocating capital across different property types, depending on risk tolerance and goals. For example, stable income through rentals, long-term growth through pre-construction, and balanced returns through mixed-use properties. Now let's talk about timing, because in real estate, timing is just as important as location. Entering early in a development cycle often produces stronger returns, while entering late in a saturated market reduces upside potential. And in 2026, many markets are entering a transitional phase. Some areas are maturing, others are still emerging, and some are just beginning development cycles, which means opportunity is still present, but requires careful selection. Now let's address risk clearly. Real estate is not a guaranteed return system. It requires research, market understanding, and patience. Because liquidity is lower compared to other investments, and decisions cannot be easily reversed. But despite that, real estate remains one of the most reliable long-term wealth-building tools because it combines tangible value, income generation, and appreciation potential. Now let's bring everything together. The top 3 property types to invest in 2026 are not random trends. They are responses to real behavioral and economic shifts. Mid-range rentals reflect population movement and urban demand. Pre-construction properties reflect infrastructure growth cycles. Mixed-use developments reflect lifestyle evolution, and each category represents a different layer of opportunity, stability, growth, and diversification. But the real key is not choosing the best one, it is understanding which one aligns with your financial strategy. Because investing is not about predicting the future perfectly, it is about positioning yourself where demand is likely to move. And in real estate, demand is always connected to people, where they live, how they work, and how they choose to spend their time. So the real insight is this: property investment is not just about buildings, it is about behavior. And when you understand behavior, you understand value. And when you understand value, you understand opportunity. And that is what separates random buying from strategic investing.